Hello and welcome to the world as we see it. Welcome back if this is a return visit. Welcome to you if this is your first visit. My name is Lloyd Hobart Mitchell and I am an ordinand with the St George's congregation here in Pattaya in Thailand. Now, we've got a few things which we are going to be talking about on our agenda today. The first thing is, I suppose, to start with an apology, in at least in one sense, because I understand yesterday we had a bit of a conversation which was kicked off by a post which I popped onto Facebook with the best of intentions, and it blew up in my face, and maybe rightly so, because I was a bit naive about what would happen when when you pop an inflammatory post on Facebook and fan the flames, I suppose. I was trying to explore arguments relating to the feast of Mary Magdalene and the somewhat tenuous but existing links to some folks' arguments against the ordination of women. And without wanting to dredge it all up, because that was just a preamble, that was just a bit of an introduction, what that post did is it upset some women who are ordained, and I can understand why they're fed up with debates like that when they've had that debate, and probably they've had to overcome all manner of challenges to get to where they are now, and still these conversations are happening, after almost coming up to 20 odd years after the event, right? So that's on the one hand. Then, so there were some folks saying, well, why are you even posting this thing? Why are you opening old wounds? And so there's an apology there. There are some folk who were very angry, I suppose, that I was exploring arguments to defend, or at least to fight against the presentation of arguments as I had laid them out. I was trying to find some useful comebacks for the argument for the ordination of women, and that obviously upsets some folk who don't like the idea of the ordination of women. So with with the best will in the world, I ended up offending everyone, right? And so that was yesterday, and it spilled over into today, and it resulted in me this morning deciding, you know what, enough's enough. Life's too short, and I deleted the post because it was pinging. It was actually pinging during some of my English classes this morning. It was going ping, 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 and the students could hear it, and they were saying, what's going on? And I thought, you know what? That's it. It's spilling across. I don't want to have to explain it, and so I deleted the post because it was easier. I could have, after I had deleted it, it was pointed out to me that I could have just said who can comment on the post, and I didn't think about that. I wish I had, because there were some very good arguments for the ordination of women, and a lot of work had gone into that from all parties, and and it wasn't that I gave up. It was ruining my already difficult day. It spilled over into another day, and I thought, oh my word. That wasn't my intention at all, and I certainly didn't mean to upset everyone. Okay, so there we are. That's the apology over. Now, what have we done to try to make amends? Okay, because we have tried to make amends. We're not foolish. Of course, we are endeavouring to make amends, and so in an effort to make amends, what we have done, we have posted out on to the St George's fan page. This is not to do with my own personal Facebook account at all. This is on the St George's fan page, and what we have posted out is to do with Mary Magdalene, which was yesterday's feast, but I feel like all of the effort that went into yesterday really did the Saint Mary Magdalene a disservice, actually. So even her, I successfully alienated and got well, I don't know what happened. It all went wrong. Anyway, so we've tried to make amends. We've come up with a post which actually is an amalgam of a couple of posts which I've seen on Facebook over the last couple of days, and so that's what I wanted to show you. I'm going to am I able to do that? Is that going to work? Yes, I think so. And so yeah, there we are. There's a post. So now what we can do is we can come to here. We can look at that. Is that going to work? Come on, computer. Why aren't you showing Facebook? Yes, you are. So there we are. We've got an image there, and I would like very happy to give credit to the image for Mary Magdalene, of course. Very, very, good image that it is. And so there she is, St Mary Magdalene, apostle to the apostles. And I would love to give credit to whoever did this original post yesterday, but can I find it today? No. I know I found this yesterday because I took the words yesterday, and we, Father David Price and I, agreed that these words summed up very well the position, which was summarised in it summarizes really the essence of a lot of the debate yesterday, and so I'm going to just read that to you because I think it's a very valid post, and if that does go, and I hope it does, some way to bring some of the folk who we may well have alienated yesterday back on board, if that reinforces or confirms what you thought about us as an inclusive church, because that's what we are, then all for the good. Okay, so let's read it. It says, yesterday was the feast of Mary Magdalene, apostle to the apostles. God chose Mary to first experience and carry the message of the resurrected Lord. From that moment until the other apostles accepted the resurrection, Mary of Magdala was the church. It was Mary, not Peter or any other apostle, to whom God entrusted the birth of the church. Just as the Blessed Virgin is the mother of Christ, the Theotokos, Mary Magdalene is the mother of the church. Since that moment outside the tomb when God entrusted the good news to Mary, powerful men have worked to remake the church in their own image and to strip Mary of her God-given position as mother of the church by falsely accusing her of being a whore and stressing the importance of apostles who abandoned Christ to the exclusion of the one who never did. If we want to experience the truth of the church as God instituted it, we must follow Mary to the empty tomb. So I hope that goes some way to making amends, to doing right by Mary, okay, doing right by women in terms of their place in the church, and doing right by our church, really, our little congregation, to make sure that we are not misconstrued. And maybe it would have been impossible to misconstrue the meaning of what was written in that post. And if that's the case, and it does us a disservice, then that rests with me, and that's my fault. Okay, so apologies. Now, I feel like we've dealt with that. I feel like we can actually move on from that point. So that's good. I feel yes, I feel like we have dealt with it. Hopefully you feel like we've dealt with it too, right? So very good. Now, of course, I'm going to always ask this. If you find that you are able to follow down here, or you're able to subscribe, or if you're able to do anything by following the link to Twitch in particular, and then following or then subscribing, then that is very, very helpful to us. Okay, Twitch is where all of this is happening, and it's all good stuff. So that's something I need to keep reminding folk. Please come over to Twitch. Please follow us, follow the stream here, support the stream. Now, one thing that I do, which I would like to share with you, is over the last few weeks, I've shared with you when we were supporting and have been supporting a parishioner who was in the last stages of a diagnosed or a cancer diagnosis, and he was jolly unwell, very unwell, and in a lot of pain, very uncomfortable, and we spent a lot of time finding and getting a hospital bed for him, and then actually with the support of someone else, in both cases, another parishioner who came forward to really help out. We actually bought, with the support of that donor, an oxygen concentrator, I think is what the machine is called, in order that he could breathe oxygen through his nose, which would again make him much more comfortable. Well, the parishioner's name was David, and we're sad to report that David passed away last night, just before midnight, and I mean it's very, very mixed emotions for me. I haven't known David very long. I've only known him for about 6 weeks, a little bit more than 6 weeks maybe, not much longer than that. And during that time, he was lovely, a really lovely bloke. And everyone who I've spoken to, everyone who knew him, have all described him as a lovely chap who would go out of his way to support their businesses, to support their shops or their bars or their whatever their business was. He would endeavour to support them, and he was always trying to make an ordinary evening into an extraordinary evening for folk who were visiting his bar, because he owned a bar. He owned the Robin Hood pub here in Pattaya, and then he went on to own the Latitude Bar, which is where he died yesterday. And so, yeah, Dave was a lovely chap, and when I knew him, obviously it was in the last chapter of his life, he was very, very gentle, very softly spoken, but apparently was always like that. You know, he was never although he was a big man, he was never a pushy man. He was just a nice chap, and it's good that he's not in pain anymore. It's good that he's relieved from that. But nevertheless, I'm sad. You know, I maybe that's just human nature. So it's good and sad that Dave has gone, and I know that everyone really wishes that he rests in peace and rises in glory, as we say. So yeah, prayers for Dave, really. Prayers, if possible. That would be very good. And of course, we'll be including Dave in our intercessions this Sunday. Now, that leads us on to this Sunday. Here in Thailand, the COVID figures are skyrocketing, as I think you might have remembered from the last few days. I've had my AstraZeneca shot, and so you know, hopefully that's all good. But there is now a rule of 5. We're not allowed to have more than 5 folk together all at once. Well, I think we're not even allowed to be together. We've got to be socially distant. But nevertheless, you're not allowed to have more than 5 folk in a building at a time. And so what's happening is we've sent out the order of service. Oh, hello. So R. Wayne Simmons is now following on Facebook. R. Wayne Simmons, thank you very much for your follow. That's very good of you. And of course, if you are able to follow the URL into the Twitch stream, instead of watching on Facebook, if you're able to watch on Twitch and follow there, it's a much more responsive way of supporting the stream. But nevertheless, thank you for following on Facebook. That's marvelous. So very, very good. Thank you for that. So so yes, on Sunday we are going to be having our service with probably 3 of us, which is Father David Price doing the liturgy and me serving, and one of our congregations, a member of our congregation who's called Terry, who's really the kind of like the director of music, if you like. He's the person who presses the buttons at the correct time, and actually they're not buttons at all. He just touches his telephone these days. There are no buttons, are there? It's funny, isn't it? There was a leftover from when I was a child, probably. Turns the knob, pushes the button, right? Anyway, so he's the person who pulls the lever that starts the music. Not really, it's on his phone, it's all with Bluetooth. And so, yeah, Terry and Father David and I will be there. We're looking for a couple of other folk to see if they want to come along and read for us, and if they do, that would be great. And if they don't, if they choose to isolate, then of course we understand that, and that's fine. But we hope that you will join us. We hope that you will join us for our event, which is at 3 o'clock Bangkok, Jakarta time. And that's about 9 a.m. in the UK. I'm not sure what times they are in America, but we will find out. Okay, we will find out for you what time that is in America, and we'll get those times jotted down, and I'll talk about them tomorrow, no doubt. Now, what are we going to do now? We are going to bring up Tillich. Okay, Tillich, We're doing 2 pages a day of Paul Tillich's systematic theology. And for anyone who is not sure why we're doing Paul Tillich's systematic theology, it's because of Father Tom. And Father Tom was the chaplain of St. George's Anglican congregation prior to Father David Price. Well, Father Tom really is my spiritual director, we could say. And I talk to him pretty much every Tuesday. Didn't this Tuesday because I got stabbed in the arm, and the week rolled away from me before I knew it. I actually felt rather beaten up by the AstraZeneca jab, but everyone else I've spoken to says that they just felt a bit dehydrated. But I felt terrible. The whole week disappeared. Anyway. So we're going to be having a look at Tillich. We've got 3 viewers right now, which is a bit good. I like it when the figure's 3 or more. It's very, very good. If you want to invite your friends, please do. If you want to tell people about our stream, you're welcome. All right. But we're about to kick off reading Paul Tillich, and we're going to cover 2 pages today. We're going to start with where it says number 3. It's page 126 on systematic theology, and it starts where it says number 3, the dynamics of revelation, original and dependent revelation. Ooh. So, the history of revelation indicates that there is a difference between original and dependent revelations. This is a consequence of the correlative character of revelation. An original revelation is a revelation which occurs in a constellation that did not exist before. This miracle and this ecstasy are joined for the first time. Both sides are original. In a dependent revelation, the miracle and its original reception together form the giving side, while the receiving side changes as new individuals and groups enter the same correlation of revelation. Jesus is the Christ, both because he could become the Christ and because he was received as the Christ. Without both of these sides, he would not have been the Christ. Not only was this true of those who first received him, but it is true of all the following generations who have entered into a revelatory correlation with him. There is, however, a difference between original and dependent revelation through him. While Peter encountered the man Jesus, whom he called Christ, in an original revelatory ecstasy, following generations met the Jesus who had been received as the Christ by Peter and other apostles. There is continuous revelation in the history of the church, but it is dependent revelation. The original miracle, together with its original reception, is the permanent point of reference, while the spiritual reception by following generations changes continuously. But if one side of a correlation is changed, the whole correlation is transformed. It is true that Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever, is the immovable point of reference in all periods of church history. But the act of referring is never the same, since new generations with new potentialities of reception enter the correlation and transform it. No ecclesiastical traditionalism and no orthodox biblicism, that's a strange word I don't think I've ever read before, biblicism can escape the situation of dependent revelation. This answers the much discussed question whether the history of the church has revelatory power. The history of the church is not a locus of original revelations in addition to the one on which it is based. Rather, it is the locus of continuous dependent revelations which are one side of the work of the divine Spirit in the church. This side is often called Illumination, referring to the church as a whole as well as its individual members. The term Illumination points to the cognitive element in the process of actualizing the new being. It is the cognitive side of ecstasy, while inspiration traditionally has been used to designate an original revelation. Illumination has been used to express what we call dependent revelation. The divine Spirit illuminating believers individually and as a group brings their cognitive reason into revelatory correlation with the event on which Christianity is based. This leads to a broader view of revelation in the life of the Christian. A dependent revelatory situation exists in every moment in which the divine Spirit grasps, shakes, and moves the human spirit. Every prayer and meditation, if it fulfills its meaning, namely to reunite the creature with its creative ground, is revelatory in this sense. The marks of revelation, mystery, miracle, and ecstasy are present in every true prayer. Speaking to God and receiving an answer is an ecstatic and miraculous experience. It transcends all ordinary structures of subjective and objective reason. It is the presence of the mystery of being an actualization of our ultimate concern. If it is brought down to the level of a conversation between two beings, it is blasphemous and ridiculous. If, however, it is understood as the elevation of the heart, namely the centre of the personality, to God, it is a revelatory event. This consideration radically excludes a non-existent concept of revelation. Propositions about a past revelation give theoretical information. They have no revelatory power. Only through an autonomous use of the intellect, or through a heteronymous subjection of the will, could they be accepted as truth. Such acceptance would be a human work, a meritorious deed of the type against which the Reformation fought a life and death struggle. Revelation, whether it is original or dependent, has revelatory power only for those who participate in it, who enter into the revelatory correlation. Original revelation is given to a group through an individual. Revelation can be received originally only in the depth of a personal life, in its struggles, decisions, and self-surrender. No individual receives revelation for himself. He receives it for his group, and implicitly for all groups, for mankind as a whole. This is obvious in prophetic revelation, which is always vocational. The prophet is the mediator of revelation for the group which follows him, often after it first has rejected him. Nor is this restricted to classical prophetism. We find the same situation in most religions, and even in mystical groups. A seer, a religious founder, a priest, a mystic. These are individuals from whom original revelation is derived by groups which enter into the same correlation of revelation in a dependent way. Now, that is the end of our 2 pages. I think we can stop there. Okay? So we will stop there. We'll come back to that. In fact, we've only got half a page, and then we're on to number 4. So I think we're going to carry on. Let's carry on. Let's finish this section 3 because it's quite interesting, isn't it? Since the correlation of revelation is transformed by every new group and in an infinitesimal way by every new individual who enters it, the question must be asked whether this transformation can reach a point where the original revelation is exhausted and superseded. It is the question of the possible end of a revelatory correlation, either by a complete disappearance of the unchanging point of reference, or by a complete loss of its power to create new correlations. Both possibilities have been actualized innumerable times in the history of religion. Sectarian and Protestant movements in all the great religions have attacked given religious institutions as a complete betrayal of the meaning of the original revelation, although they still have kept it as their point of reference. On the other hand, most of the gods of the past have lost even this power. They have become poetic symbols and have ceased to create a revelatory situation. Apollo has no revelatory significance for Christians. The Virgin Mother Mary reveals nothing to Protestants. Revelation through these 2 figures has come to an end. Yet one might ask how a real revelation can come to an end. If it is God who stands behind every revelation, how can something divine come to an end? If it is not God who reveals himself, why should one use the term revelation? But this alternative does not exist. Every revelation is mediated by one or several of the mediums of revelation. None of these mediums possesses revelatory powers in itself, but under the conditions of existence, these mediums claim to have it. This claim makes them idols, and the breakdown of this claim deprives them of their power. The revelatory side is not lost if a revelation comes to an end, but its idolatrous side is destroyed. That which was revelatory, in it is preserved as an element in more embracing and more purified revelations, and everything revelatory is potentially present in the final revelation, which cannot come to an end because the bearer of it does not claim anything for himself. Very good. So we've done 3 pages. We've done 3 pages of Tillich. That's very good. I feel very happy today. And so number 4, tomorrow, we're going to come back to number 4, the knowledge of revelation. So that's tomorrow. Okay, that's something to look forward to. And very good. And Father David Price, thank you very much, has just liked the stream. And again, in the same way that we said with Simmons, if you could click on the URL link that says support the stream and come into Twitch and click follow there, that would be marvelous. Okay, everyone's being encouraged to navigate, to migrate across from Facebook to Twitch, and very welcome here you will be. Now what we're going to do, seeing as we've been chatting for a good half an hour or so, we are going to bring it back, as we always do, and look at the Church of England's night prayer, and together we will pray. Okay, I tend at this time to read the collect from the night prayer, which is found on the Church of England's. It's the cwdp.oramus.org/daily CGI. Okay, so anyone who wants to can see that, and I think we'll share that to the Twitch comment box, so anyone, if they want to, can see that, which is good. So the collect, it says, let us pray. Lord of all power and might, the author and giver of all good things, grant in our hearts the love of your name. Increase in us true religion. Nourish us with all goodness. And of your great mercy, keep us in the same. Through Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord, who is alive and reigns with you, in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. So, thank you very much for being with me this evening. We've covered quite a lot. We've dealt with yesterday. We've dealt with Mary Magdalene's post today. We've spoken about the passing of Dave, and we've mentioned the rule of 5, and we've also had 3 pages of Tillich. So I think we've had quite a varied transmission today. So thank you very much for that. Thanks for your time, and I will see you at about the same time tomorrow. So with prayers and